Hello everybody, welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing my April mid-month wrap-up from the 1st to the 14th. I know I'm filming this on the 15th and I haven't finished a book yet today, but the Dark Romance Readathon also starts today, and so I'm doing a whole vlog specifically for that. But from the 1st to the 14th, I have read a total of 17 books. Only one of them has been physical, but I will do all that fun stuff in my stats and faves at the end of the month. But here, you just want to know about the books that I have been reading. So, the first book that I read so this month is the month of Realmathon, or Realm of the Readathon, which is hosted by Cassie at Covers with Cassie. And I'm on Team Bayle, which is the fantasy romance team which is ruled by Mel from Mel Lenore Reads and Becca from Becca in the Books. I'm also participating in the SJM along, but I still haven't finished Throne of Glass, but I'm about halfway done, so I'll get it done today because I have today off and I have till tomorrow to finish it. So the first book, so this month is heavy fantasy romance. So the first book that I read this month was How to Date Your Dragon by Molly Harper. This was a fun dragon shifter short novel, short little romance. It was cute. Julian is a human who works for the League of Supernatural Affairs, basically. I don't think that's what it's called, but it's something like that. And she goes to investigate shifters in an area of Louisiana. And she ends up falling in love with a dragon shifter by the name of Bayle, which fits because I am on Team Bayle. So it was cute. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was fun and surprisingly spicy. Even though it wasn't a novella, so I was just wanting a little bit more from the book. The third act conflict was really late into the story, and so it all resolved really fast, which was kind of annoying. But it is what it is. Then I was on sprints for Realmathon with Cassidy, Mel, and Bobby from Bobby Reads and Rye from Rye's Reading Corner. And they were talking about The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert, which then a bunch of us decided to pick it up. We were talking about the 2 eggplant situation going on in Dragon's Bride. And I actually enjoyed Dragon's Bride. A lot of people didn't. I did not have, I like monster romances and things like that, so my expectations for them are different than other people's. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's basically this girl sells herself to a demon to get out of a horrible marriage and ends up married to a dragon that has 2 eggplants and a tail. So it was fun. It was a short, sexy time. That's all that there really was to it. But I gave it 4 stars. It was fun. Marriage of Convenience. Then I read Devil in Spring by Lisa Keppis, Pandora, and Gabriel St. Vincent. I loved this. It was so fun to be back with the St. Vincents and to see Sebastian and Evie so many years later, because this is obviously their son story. And Pandora she's a board game creator and doesn't want to get married because she wants to own her company. She's like, if I get married, I cannot run my company. But she's caught in a compromising position and ends up having to marry Gabriel. And she doesn't want to because, again, she wants to own her own company. But he basically tells her, I will hire someone to be to run the company that will be forced to listen to you. You will still have full control. It will still be your company. You will do all of the work that needs to be done. And she agrees because she knows that because she was compromised, her sister Cassandra has less of a chance of finding a good marriage. So, of course, they fall in love. Then I read Thin Ice by Cassie Mint. This was an age gap novella about a coach and an ice skater and her coach, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to say too much because it's so short that you should go ahead and read it. I read it in an hour, It was fabulous. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Oh, I also gave Devil in Spring 5 stars. I did not mention that before. Then I listened to The Thrill of It by Lauren Blakely. This was the second book in the No Regrets trilogy. This continued the story of Trey and Harley. I'm not going to say too much because it'll give the trilogy away. Then I listened to Every Second with You by Lauren Blakely. This was the third book in the No Regrets trilogy, which again was the culmination of Harley and Trey's love story, and it was absolutely perfect. I gave The Thrill of It 4 stars, and I gave Every Second with You 5 stars. So each book got better. The first book was 3, the second one was 4, and the third was 5. So I did very much enjoy it. Then I read A Shadow in the Ember by JLA. This is the first book in the spin-off series of the From Blood and Ash series. I love the From Blood and Ash series. I know that it's not perfect, but I really enjoy it. And so I decided, and I know that you're supposed to read this one before picking up War of Two Queens. So I read this. It was fun. I gave it 4 stars. It's very similar to From Blood and Ash. Like, the characters are very much the same. Like, the bad guy isn't really the bad guy, and the girl has been locked in a cage, basically. So very similar to it. But different enough. I did still enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I will continue the series. Then I read the Bromance book club for the officially unofficial book club, which is hosted by the Late Night Crew of Rye, Mel, and Cassidy. They started this last month, and there's a whole Discord and fun stuff, and we read this book together. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was, if it's an older, traditionally published romance. I think it came out in 2019. It's a marriage in trouble, which I don't love that trope as it is. But I enjoyed it. I had a fine time with it. I gave 3.5 stars. It wasn't a new favorite romance, but it also was not a romance that I hated. I've read worse this month than this. So I gave it 3.5 stars. But it follows Gavin and Thea, and it's, he learns that she's been faking it for most of their marriage, and they have to find their way back to each other. So, but it's fun. He's a baseball player, and I love a good sports romance. So there's always that. Then I read Holland the Soulless, which is another fantasy romance about a dragon rider who steals a girl on the way to the wedding, which I love that trope. And this book was good, but it was so sad. I enjoyed it more than had I read, because I listened to it, because it's narrated by Shane East, and I just absolutely adore his narration style. And so had I read it physically, I probably would have been depressed reading it, because it is really sad. There's a lot of horrible things that happen to both of them before they get their HEA. So, but Shane East's narration is just perfection. And so that helped make it 4 stars, but it was a depressing book. And the love story doesn't make up for all of the depression that happens. Then I listened to Royally Screwed by Emma Chase. This is a royalty, friends to lovers type of situation. It was cute. It was fun. I gave it 4.5 stars. Again, I listened to this on audio, and it was narrated by Shane East and Andy Arndt, who are 2 of my favorites. And so I just had a great time listening to it, and that probably helped my enjoyment of the story. It wasn't anything spectacular, it wasn't groundbreaking in any way. It's a royal romance, but it wasn't anything that I'm going to necessarily remember a ton in the future. But this is following Olivia, who's a baker in New York, and Nicholas, who is the crown prince and is supposed to get married at the end of the summer, or find a bride at the end of the summer, and he has to marry someone that has a title. It's part of their laws. And yeah, of course, he falls in love with a baker that has no title. So I'm not going to tell you what happens, how things come to be, but there is a happily ever after because it is a romance story. So just know that. Then I read Good Gone Bad by Gianna Darling. Sorry, I'm looking at my reading journal, which has all my notes. This was my favorite so far of the Fallen Men series. I know a lot of people don't like this one because it's Harley Rose, who is Zeus's daughter, and Lionel Danner, who is a cop. And so it's kind of taken away, like most of it is isolated from the actual motorcycle club, and it is with like another motorcycle club. But I really loved it. I loved HR and Danner. I loved that he was a dominant, but was willing, and she was willing to be a submissive, and he taught her like how to be a submissive and like trained her and told her like how to do things and what he needed from her. But she was so dominant outside of the bedroom and was like, I'm not going to just listen to everything you say, but in bed, we're good. And it was cute, and I absolutely loved it. So I give that one 5 stars, and it's still my favorite of the series. Then I read Big Boss by Cassie Mint. This is part of her like Big Boys series of novellas. This is another age gap. Best friend's dad, forced proximity because she goes to stay with them at Christmas. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun, steamy novella. Can't say too much because, again, it's a novella. But it has all of my words, age gap. Those are forced proximity, some of my favorites. Love them. I gave that one 4.5 stars. Oh, and if I didn't say I gave Good Gone Bad 5, but I think I did say that. Then I read Fates Divided, which was another fantasy romance by Jules Barnard. This was like a forced proximity bodyguard romance. It was cute. And it was high stakes. But it's not anything that I'm going to remember by the end of the year. Basically, Derek is Elena's neighbor, and one day Elena starts to realize that she can make she can make water boil without it being on a pot or overheat, and she asks Derek to help her go to find a lab to work at, and all sorts of things happen, and they find out that they're both half fae, and yeah, so it was interesting, but again, not necessarily something that I'm going to remember in the future. I give 3 stars. Then I read Savage in the Touch by Melina Jacks. This was a novella, super short novel because it's like 130 pages. Again, fantasy romance. Basically, they're fated mates. The heroine is older. She's in her 30s, over 30s. And it's kind of a captor-captive. Basically, this guy who's half man, half beast sees her and decides that she's his and steals her. And they fall in love. It was mostly just them hooking up. Although they did not have sex until super late into the story. So it was interesting. But they did a lot of other things prior to that. So I gave 3.5 stars. It was fun. Then I read Sven the Collector, which was the prequel to Holland the Soulless. This was Holland's parents, Sven and Colette. And again, stolen. That's kind of how these Dorikis take their brides. They steal them from wherever they want. It was cute. It was 4 stars. Again, I listened to it, and Janie's is the narrator, so helps that out. And this one wasn't as depressing. I mean, it was a novella, so it's super short. 102 pages, 2-hour audiobook, or 4-hour audiobook. Listen to it on 2 times speed. So it was fun, short, quick, not as depressing as others. Or as Holland the Soulless was. Then I read Wolf Gone Wild by Juliet Cross. This book is so much fun. Mateo is a werewolf who is unable to shift, and he can like feel his alpha. His alpha like talks to him because his alpha needs to be released. He needs to come out. He needs to shift, and it's really starting to bother Mateo. So he goes to find Evie, who is known to be like the top curse-breaking witch, and he's like, I need your help. Please, I need to not have this curse on me anymore. And all sorts of things happen, and they fall in love, and it is beautiful and fun. It is a fated mate situation, friends to lovers. I loved it, 5 stars. And then the last book that I read this month was After the Fall by Gianna Darling. This is the 4th book in the Fallen Man series. This book goes back to Cressida and King, which are the story in Lessons in Corruption, which I talk about in my February wrap-up, which I'll post up here. It's an age gap older woman, younger man, but this is more of them just being in love. And this, after listening to the live show that Jess from Peace Love Books and Tori from Novel Life have about this was more of a book to set up the plot for the next couple books. It also sets up the next couple couples. But it was interesting. I mean, I enjoy King and Cress, but they are my least favorite couple so far. I would say that it's HR and Lion, and then Zeus and Lulu, and then King and Cress. I know I'm in the minority with HR and Lion being my favorite, but so it's just them being happy and in love, and then trying to work around all of the issues and problems that are coming up and being like that are happening to the club, all of the problems and everything like that. So it was more of like a bridge book than anything. I don't think it's meant to be like a favorite. So yeah, I give that one 4 stars. I probably would have given it lower, but the bonus epilogue at the end, really like seeing them in the future, just chef's kiss, was perfection. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, gave it 4 stars. I'm currently in the middle of like 4 books. I'm reading Thorn of Glass for my SJM along, Hello Stranger for my group where we read Lisa Kleypas backlist. Then I'm also reading A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane and Ace of Spades for another book club group. I have a lot. I am overcommitted this month for sure. But yeah, that is all that I have read this month. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, if any of these sound interesting to you. Let me know what your favorite read so far of the month has been. Mine has been Good Gone Bad. Yeah, Good Gone Bad. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. And I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye.